Hello there, Mr. Sutton here, bringing you the IM3 1.1 Extra Practice Number 2 solutions. So for this particular puzzle, let me show you the puzzle here. We're given 9 systems of equations that we're supposed to solve by graphing. And then we have to cross out the box containing our answer, which will be a point. When we finish, we're just going to print out the letters of all the boxes that we did not cross off down here below. And the riddle that we're supposed to solve is, what were 2 headlines after a mad scientist trained 2 eggs to attack a candy store with sharp sticks? Sounds very violent. Let's go and get started. For our first question, we're trying to solve this system of equations. So let me go ahead and graph each of these. They're both in point slope form, so I can use my y-intercept and my slope to graph them. This first one has a y-intercept of -1. So I'll put a dot on -1. I'll begin there. And then my slope is this 2/3 here next to the x. So that's telling me starting at my y-intercept to go up 2 over 3. And then draw a line through those. For this next one, we have a y-intercept of 4. So that's up here on the y-axis. Negative x, that really means I have a slope of -1 or -1 over 1. So starting up here, I'm going to go down 1, right 1. And then draw that line through those. Taking a look at where these lines cross, that'll be my solution at 3, 1. And looking down in my boxes here to see where 3, 1 is, that's this WE, so I'm going to cross that off. For this system, let me go ahead and graph each of these lines, both in slope-intercept form, so that's nice. First one, we have a y-intercept of 1, so that's 1 on the y-axis. Our slope is -2. So I'm going down 2 and over 1, starting here at the y-intercept, down 2 over 1. Draw the line through those. Next, we have a y-intercept for this second line of -5. That's all the way down here. And then we have x right here, so that's really an invisible 1 next to the x. So that's a slope of up 1 over 1. So up 1 over 1 from the y-intercept. Draw that line. And if we draw this accurately, these are going to cross at this spot right here, which is 2, -3. Looking down here to see where that is, I see we have a TI next to the 2, -3, so let's cross that one off. For this one, let's go ahead and graph these 2 lines to see where they cross and get another answer. First line, we have a y-intercept of -3. That's right here. And then the slope on that line is this 1 over 2. So that's telling us, starting down here at the y-intercept, to go up 1 over 2, and then draw the line through those. For the next line, we have a y-intercept of -1. That's all the way here at the y-axis. And now 3/2 for our slope. That means we have to go up 3, right 2. So starting here, up 1, 2, 3, right 2, and then draw a line as straight as you can through those. Now, if you've done this super accurately, and it's a little bit tough with this kind of a slope, but down here is where they're going to intersect. This is the point -2, -4. And -2, -4, that's this ET right here that we will now cross off. For this problem, we want to figure out where these 2 lines cross. Before I graph anything, let me make sure these are both in a form that I can easily graph. So this first one is in y equals mx plus b form, although we're missing a b value, so we'll have to figure that out in a minute. This other one is not in y equals mx plus b form, so to put it in that form, I'm going to get y alone by subtracting the x over to the other side. And now I've got it in a form that I can graph. Let's go back to my first equation, though. So my y-intercept, since I don't see anything, there's an invisible +0 there. So this is a y-intercept of 0, which is the origin, and then my slope is telling me to go up 2, right 1 from there. So up 2, right 1, there we go. And now we can draw that line. And next up, we have the line y equals -x plus 3. That's a y-intercept of 3, so that's right here. And -x, that means we have a -1, so we're going from here down 1, right 1, which is actually one of the points we already graphed. So let's just draw that line for completeness here. But we can see that these are going to cross at 1, 2 at that spot right there. And 1, 2, looking down at my table, that's this TS right here, so we'll cross that off. Next up, we've got this pair of lines. So Neither of these are in slope-intercept form. We're going to get y by themselves in all of these equations just to make sure we can graph it. So for the first one, I can do that by subtracting x from both sides. And now for the other equation, if I subtract 3x, I'll have y equals negative 3x minus 4. Let's go ahead and graph these. For this first one, we have a y-intercept of 0. There's an invisible 0 that we don't have to write, so that's the origin then. And then negative x means negative 1 for the slope, so that's down 1, right 1, negative 1 over 1. And draw the line. For the next one, we have a y-intercept of negative 4. That's right there. Slope is negative 3 over 1. So starting here, I would like to go down 3 and over 1, but I ran out of grid. So I'm actually going to go the exact opposite direction. I'm going to go up 3 and left 1. And that will still keep me on the line with the same slope. Going ahead and graphing those now, and feel free to draw a few more points to get that line as straight as it needs to be. It looks like I'm crossing at these grid lines. That's the point negative 2, comma 2. Negative 2, comma 2 is this up box right here, so let's cross that off, and we'll move on to the next question. Here we have two more lines to graph, and we can see that the difficulty level is increasing as we get higher and higher in the questions here. These are going to require even more work than the last couple in order to get y by itself and give us something that we can graph, assuming that we're going with that method. So for this first one, I'm first going to get y on the left side. I just like having y on the left side, so let's add the 3y over there. And now I want to get x on the opposite side, so I'll subtract x from both sides, negative x plus 3. And now to get y truly by itself, I need to divide everything by 3 to get rid of this 3 that I'm multiplying y by. So if I divide everything by 3, that'll give me just y. And then negative x over 3, I can rewrite that as negative 1 over 3x. And then 3 over 3, that's going to give me a plus 1. So there's one line that I can go ahead and graph in a minute. Let me just clean up this other equation, though. So I'm going to subtract x over here as well, so negative x minus 6. And then I'm going to divide by 3 to get y by itself over there. So that'll give me just y. And just like we had over here, we're going to have a negative 1 over 3x. And then finally, negative 6 over 3 is going to give us negative 2. Going back and graphing each of these, this first one, I have a y-intercept of 1. So there we are. Slope is negative 1 over 3. So we're going down 1 and right 3 to give us that point right there at 3, 0. Let's graph that line. Moving on to the next one, we have a y-intercept of negative 2. That's right here. Slope of negative 1/3 again, so down 1, right 3. Graph the line. And yeah, if there's two parallel lines here, then we have no solution because they're not going to touch anywhere. So let's pick the box that says no solution. That was this OS box here. For this one, let's go ahead and get y by itself in each of these equations so that we can actually graph these things and see where they cross. First equation, let me subtract x from both sides, so negative x minus 4. And then dividing everything by 2, that'll give me y, and negative 1 over 2x, and negative 4 over 2 is going to be negative 2. On to the next. Here I don't have to get the 4y alone, I just have to divide by 4. X is already on the other side of the equation. So dividing everything by 4, that'll give us just y on the left, and 3/4 x on the right, along with 12 over 4, which we can reduce to 3. Graphing these now, for the y-intercept on the first equation, we've got negative 2. That's right there. Slope of negative 1 over 2, so that's down 1, right 2. And then draw the line through those. Next, we have a y-intercept of 3. That's up here. And a slope of 3 over 4. So we want to go up 3, right 4. We could do that and draw just an extra grid line. Or if you want, you can also go down 3 and left 4, the exact opposite directions. And then do a line through those. So those are going to cross at this spot right here, which is negative 4, comma 0. And negative 4, comma 0, that looks like that's going with TW, so let's cross that off. For this one, we have the line y equals negative 2, and this other thing that's a line that we have to rearrange a little bit. So if you're looking at the answer choices, there's really only one of these that has a y value of -2. It's this SS one right here. So we could kind of be cheap about it and cross this off and just move on. But I feel like graphing this thing, so let's go ahead and graph it and make sure that that's really the answer and we didn't mess up something somewhere else. So I don't need to do anything in terms of rearranging for this first equation. I'll just need to graph it. This other one, though, needs to be rearranged to get y by itself. So I'll start by subtracting the 2x from both sides, so -2x plus 20. And then I'll divide both sides by -5. So that gives me just y on the left side. And -2 over -5, negative divided by a negative, I can make that a positive 2/5 x if I turn that into a fraction. 20 over -5 is going to give me -4. So going back to my first equation, if you just have y equals a number, this is a horizontal line through -2. So to graph this, I just have to put a dot on -2 on the y-axis and just draw a horizontal line through that. And again, the reasoning on these is no matter what I plug in for x, the y value is always -2. So we want every spot where we have a y value of -2. Now for this next line, we have a y-intercept of -4 down here. And this slope is 2/5. That's up 2 and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. And that's actually our point of intersection. This is the point 5, comma, -2, which is the SS box, just like we predicted. Okay, we've got a lot of these boxes crossed off. We've got one more problem to cross off another box and maybe make some sense of this message. So let's rearrange this first equation. Let me subtract 4x. And again, with these, I'm trying to get y by itself, so I can use my y equals mx plus b form to graph these. Dividing by 3 now, we've got y, and then -4 over 3x, and then -15 over 3 is going to give me -5. The right equation is already good to go in that form, so we'll graph that in a moment. But back to this first equation, y-intercept is -5. That is down here. And our slope is -4 over 3. So I'd like to go down 4 and right 3 from that dot, but I'm already out of grid space and I don't feel like making more. So instead of going down 4 and right 3, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and left 1, 2, 3. And that gives me the same slope, just a different direction on the same line. So that's a line that we can draw. Now for this next one, this one's actually not so bad. We have a y-intercept of 2 right there. And there's an invisible 1 next to the x, so that's a slope of up 1, right 1. And draw the line. And we can see that we're crossing at this spot at -3, comma, -1, which is giving us this TR box that we can cross off. Okay, we've got everything crossed off that we can. Now it's time to go through here and write these letters and see what kind of message is left. So we have an EG and a GS. I'm going to go ahead and guess that's all one word, eggs. And then, let's see here, we have an SP, that's part of the next word, I think. And EA, probably still part of the next word. I can't see ending the word there. We have an R and then an A. Let me think here. I'm thinking this A is is its own thing. I think R ends the word, because that would give us the word spear. And we're talking about sharp sticks, so spear seems like it would go in there. So we have spear and then A, eggs, spear, and then for our last bit we have the MI and an NT, and that all forms one word, mint. So what were the headlines after a mad scientist trained 2 eggs to attack a candy store with sharp sticks? Eggs spear a mint. Get it? Because we've got eggs, we've got spears for the sharp sticks, and then it's a candy store, so of course there's going to be a mint or two in there waiting to get skewered. All right, so that's it for this puzzle. Until next time, this is Mr. Sutton signing off.